This is Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars with Trevor Long and Stephen Fennick. Thanks to NRMA Insurance and Uniden.
Great to have your company, folks, here on Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. Thanks to NRMA Insurance, a help company helping Australians protect what matters most for over 100 years. And here's to 100 more NRMA Insurance. Well done. And they're also one of Australia's largest insurers of electric vehicles. So there's someone you can go to ensure that you're getting the service and support you need in the worst time of owning a car, when you've got to call your insurer. And, of course, thanks to the great people at Uniden Smart Dashcams. If you've got a new car, there's no point just buying car wash for it. You should buy a dash cam.
Front and rear, people.
Front and rear.
The R has means there's a rear camera.
If you're looking for a Uniden product, you'll always, the R at the end of the model number means
a rear and a front camera, and these are award-winning cameras, not only for their quality but also their design. So good looking and great at what they do. Something
for everyone. Massive show today. We want to unpack the announcement of about a week and a bit ago of the Atto 1 and 2 pricing. We're going to be joined shortly by the Chief Operating Officer of BYD Australia, Stephen Collins. We appreciate him taking some time. We'll get to him shortly. But Stephen, this is aggressive. Now, the Atto 1 is a fascinating car because it's a nice compact hatchback. But for real perspective on this is exciting for a very important reason. This is the first time we have come anywhere near parity on pricing between petrol and electric cars.
It is a watershed moment, they call it, mate.
It is. I've just done a quick look, and look, I think when we get to see it and it's on the road and you drive it, it may not be 100% equivalent to these vehicles, but without question, there's three cars that come to mind when I think compact hatchback.
Yep.
They are the Kia Picanto, the Toyota Yaris, and the Mazda 2. You might argue the Mazda 2 kind of feels a touch bigger. It might be. But the Mazda 2 starts at about $28,990 drive-away.
Wow. Okay.
Drive-away price.
Okay.
The Toyota Yaris, drive-away price, $32,790.
Whoa.
The Kia Picanto, $19,190 plus drive-aways, which takes it to $22,000. So drive-away prices are hard to work out at the best of times. But if you say roughly a Kia Picanto's $3,500 for the on-road costs, then the Atto 1 at $23,990 is probably going to be drive-away $27,000.
Yeah,
maybe
so
they'll do
it's
some
in the ballpark.
They'll do some sharp drive-away pricing, which will probably take it to, I think, $27,990, right? Which means it's on par with a Mazda 2, and I think that cheaper than a Toyota Yaris.
That was the issue, I think, for people who were keen to buy an EV was price, right? And also the class of car they want to buy, in this case a compact car, a smaller car. And so up until now, there was really no choice for them. But now suddenly BYD's come through with and basically what they've done with these announcements is just plugged the gaps in their range. Right?
That's right.
So they've thought, right, we need an ultra cheap here, and we need another one here, and that's basically what they've come up with, and at prices that we expected and see are very competitive.
You think about our main game, smartphones, technology, right? You think about Samsung, right? They've got a smartphone from $250 all the way up to $2,500. There's just at every price point. That's what BYD's on. Absolutely. They're going, we want for every person that has a budget for a car, we want to have one that's under that budget, right? Now, the biggest criticism you could objectively make of these cars, especially the Atto 1, is range. So the Atto 1 has a range of between 220 and 320 kilometres, right? That's because it's a small car with a small battery. It's not made for highway driving.
No.
You wouldn't.
It's made for city driving.
You wouldn't buy this car if you're driving from Canberra to Sydney every week, right?
But again, having said that, if you're buying a Yaris or you're not driving in the country every weekend. I've
taken our Mazda 2, which we've owned for 13 odd years. It's been to the country once.
There you go.
Because I had no other choice one day, right?
Yeah. But it's not like you can't do it. In this case, you can charge halfway.
Definitely can.
Not a problem.
You could charge every 150 k's, no dramas at all. But this is a ultimate city runabout. So and again, I'll be demographically. It's not. Anti. No, not anti. I don't want to pigeonhole this as an old person's car. That's what I want to say.
It could
it's a young person's car. It sits at both ends of the spectrum, right? This could be your first car.
Yeah.
Because, mate, Jackson has never driven. He's driven to Berry a few times down south, but he'll take our car. He's taken our Kia for that,
the bigger car,
This is perfect for him, right? So it's a perfect first car, but it's also perfect. It sounds terrible. Last car. So, lovely lady who lives across the road from me. If you happen to watch this show, Gail, hello. I don't think she does. But Gail owns a Toyota Corolla.
Yep.
Now, Gail, I don't know if she's got solar, but if you're retired and you've put solar on your house, you put a battery in, and you're buying a new car, and you're probably going to buy a Toyota Yaris or a Toyota Corolla and those kind of things. When you buy this, it's essentially free upkeep because you're either charging it at a tenth of the price of petrol overnight. You're charging it for free while you're at home because you don't work. That ongoing saving, because I think about my mum who's on a pension, and I go, that wouldn't be for her because she drives hundreds of kilometres. She's just driven to Armidale. That's just insane.
It'd be good for my mum. My mum only drives short distances, and she could plug this in at night.
She's at home during the day,
dramas.
plug in. It's simple, right?
Easy.
And that battery is going to recharge overnight, even on basic AC power.
Well, that's good. Well, I think it's opened up the possibilities for people who had no option before.
The Atto,
good on BYD for creating that option.
The Atto 1 makes sense to me. The Atto 2 I struggle with because I actually don't think it's as good a looking car as the Atto 1. It's like there's two design teams at BYD. One that does these awesome, like the Seal, the C-Line 7, the Atto 1, and then there's a design team that did the C-Line 6. They did the Atto 3, and they've done the Atto 2.
So you reckon there's not the consistency across the board?
I don't think, like these two cars don't look like brother and sister from the same year.
Yeah, maybe.
They look like generationally different cars, and that's fine.
Well, the Atto 2 looks more like the 3, don't you reckon?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Whereas the Atto 1 is sort of like, you reckon, the adopted child. It might not look the same.
Which I think is a better looking car, just sharper design. But see, the Atto 2, it's almost the same size as the Atto 3. No, it's slightly smaller. But in terms of looking at them, it really is plugging a gap just on price in the middle there. It's fascinating the way they've done that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, the one does sort of have more of a, would you say, more a European sort of looking style?
It has a sporty look.
Yeah, more sporty.
Really does.
Whereas the Atto 2 is sort of your more a family sort of size car, and more for maybe like I look at the Atto 1 as sort of like a single person, young person's car, older person's car. Atto 2 more a family car. You know, mum and dad dropping off the kids and stuff.
BYD, after 6 months of sales of the Atto 1, would be mad not to come out with a Atto 1 Sport version, right? So all you do is you refine the motor or to give it some more oomph. Maybe you need a bigger battery, I don't know, but you give it little flares on the wheels. If anyone's seen the Toyota Yaris GR, which is a legitimate sports car, I will say, but mate, the appeal of the Hyundai i20N, the i30N, of a sporty version of a hatchback. Hatchbacks are all, like, ever since I've always been a hatchback owner. There's always been the sporty version, your Golf GTI. They would be mad because of those lines and that style to not come out with a souped-up version.
Now, I know we're going to talk to Stephen Collins from BYD in a moment, so I'm assuming they're going to keep all of these as well as the Dolphin?
I have to ask him because in reality, the Atto 3 and Dolphin are like the old versions of these.
Yeah, maybe.
So if it's true, then they're bringing the range into a different price. But it also works to that Samsung analogy of having something at every price.
Something for everybody. Correct. You can spend top range or entry level.
And as I understand, they're going to be in showrooms next month. These will be on sale next year. So we are going to see in January, February sales data, we're going to see BYD
at every level.
Dude, the C-Line 7 is going nuts. The BYD Shark 6 is going well. The Atto 3 is still doing well. You throw these in.
Yeah,
this is super exciting.
They've got choices for everyone. No, well, that's why the brand's doing so well. They're just giving people options and doing it at a very offering value as well as quality. That's the key here. They've nailed. They've really nailed that zone where you're getting the value and the quality at the same time.
Check it out, the BYD Atto 1 and Atto 2. Cracking prices, but let's dig into it a bit more and actually talk to the boss of BYD after this. Stephen, we talk about every electric car brand, and I've got to say, if you had to pick, just think about all the callers we've had on the show, and if you want to get in touch, by the way, folks, send us a text, 0477 657 657. We'd love to hear from you if you've bought a car, you're buying a car, you've bought and sold a car, or you're in the market, or you just don't like it, whatever it is. We want to talk EVs with everyone. But think about the top three brands we've had callers about. What would be number one?
I would say BYD.
I agree.
Yeah, BYD with that was the first one that
It's
came to
probably
mind.
Tesla would be second because I think early on we had a lot of that,
yep.
and just in the last few months, Zika probably. There's been a bit of hype on that.
Yep.
So we've taken the opportunity to get in touch with the great people at BYD, and they're we would say newly appointed, but feet are well under the desk. Their Chief Operating Officer from BYD Australia, Stephen Collins, joins us on the line. G'day, Stephen. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. Great to join you guys.
Mate, thank you so much for spending some time with us. You've had a massive couple of weeks because you've announced 2 brand new cars. Let's talk about them first, and then we might just unpack a bit of the BYD story. But the Atto 1 and the Atto 2 are coming very soon into Australia, and the sharpest pricing we've ever seen for electric vehicles. You must be firstly excited and proud.
Certainly I'm proud, very excited about launching both Atto 1 and Atto 2 to the Australian market. And it really, I think, is an illustration of our desire to bring the world's best technology to the masses. And we launched the vehicles last week. They've both gone on sale. We've got Atto 2s in dealerships as we speak, and Atto 1s will start arriving in December. So, yeah, it's a fantastic time to be about the brand that's growing and will continue to grow into next year.
You mentioned the growth of the brand, Stephen. I'd say it's like a startup where you see all this sudden growth. How was that to deal with as a company with all the massive sales you were getting and all the attraction from drivers?
Well, it's been quite amazing, really. The brand entered the Australian market back in late 2022 under the distributorship of EV Direct.
Yep.
And EV Direct did a fantastic job, and we took over as the full OEM in July of this year. So when you look back over the last 3 years, this month we'll sell our 80,000th vehicle. So the growth has been really phenomenal. And I think when I look back, from this year, it has been really extraordinary. In the first half of this year, we probably averaged, around sort of 4,000 units a month. And more recently, sort of 4,000 to 5,000 units a month. So it's on the back of some great product. I think Shark 6 has given us a huge lift in a really important market segment in the country, and C-Line 7, which is now the most popular EV in the market, is really kicked a home run with a lot of buyers, particularly novated lease buyers. So yeah, look, it's unprecedented growth in the industry, and my mission is to keep that going.
I look at the market, and you launched with the Atto 3, which out of the box was just an unbelievable car because it was this little bit of premium to it, but it was also a bit quirky and unique. It was just the right size for the market to see a car in growth. Then you had the Dolphin, where in terms of just small hatches and things, but where does the 1 and 2 fit in for the Atto? Is the Atto 1 a replacement for the Dolphin in the medium term, the Atto 2 for the 3, or are all of those 4 vehicles, just talking about the fully electric 4 that I've mentioned there, the Dolphin, the Atto 3, the 1 and the 2, do they all live together for the next year or so, or is there a bit of a migration?
Absolutely, they all live together. So we see Atto 1 as very much, and of course it's Australia's most affordable EV, but what it really brings to the market is, under the affordability umbrella, the world's BYD's best technology, best safety, best design in just a fun-to-drive city package. So we see, Atto 1 having that sort of role, and we think also, a lot of new buyers to EVs, and potentially even people who are looking at late model used cars. We think at the price positioning we've come in at, it'll give those people a real alternative in terms of an EV. And Atto 2, accessible EV, SUV, we think still has very much a role to play with Atto 3. So what we're really doing is filling out the range. So particularly in SUVs, anyone who's after an SUV at the low end, the mid end, the high end, will soon have C-Line 8 coming into the market with a 7-seat option. We really want to be the brand that offers customers just that array of choice depending on their own personal requirements.
The growth of the EV market in Australia has very much reflected the company growth as well. So you can really take some responsibility for that and some pride in that. How much though are you sort of putting into sort of local R&D, sort of tuning for Australian conditions as well? I know that these cars are sold all around the world, but how important is it to sort of localise a little bit for Australian drivers?
Look, it's really important. We know that, and we're growing that capability. But we have a lot of examples of many of our models, particularly Shark, but also Atto 1 and Atto 2, where we've done local testing. We have local engineers within our business. We have numerous teams coming from China on an engineering front to make sure that the setup, the suspension, the ride is optimised for the local market. So I think a number of other manufacturers have done a really good job in that space. I think it's a tried and tested formula, and for us it's important, and it's important that we do more of it in our product development into the future. So we'll keep investing in that, and that will make sure that we bring the right spec and the right ride to all of our customers locally.
How much of a workout is the pencil sharpener on your desk getting when it comes to prices? Because we see massive fluctuations, and I think that's Tesla's biggest problem is fluctuations in their pricing has driven people insane. But I see also you've got a huge range. You were the OG, kind of startup in this space for Australia, but there's so many brands now that are doing pretty aggressive pricing, but there's others that are quite premium in their pricing. But like in terms of Atto 1, for example, do you look at, Kia Picanto is a $19,000 car. You've come in at $23,000. The Toyota Yaris is basically a $28,000 car plus. So do you want to sit in the middle of the like-for-like parity argument, or are you playing a game based on what you see the buyers wanting from price?
For us, it's all about what consumers want, and they want good value for money. So it depends on the model, and different models have different objectives. But for us, at the end of the day, it's about making our cars great value for money, and price is one component of that. But I think Atto 1 and Atto 2 are other examples where we've filled those cars with tech, we've filled them with safety. We haven't taken any. They are the best technology that BYD has to offer. So yes, pricing is important, and I think we've shown that we like to price aggressively, but we like to maintain that price. We're not in the game of going up and down all over the place, because we need to provide surety, and we're cognizant of residual values and maintaining the value in the long term. So yeah, pricing is a big part of making sure that we bring good value to money to the market and to our customers. But I think it's more about that. It's about value, and value is a lot of things to a lot of different people.
Stephen, no doubt BYD's been quite successful in the EV market, in a very competitive market. How important is it for customer service, that first point of contact with the dealers? Like how important is that process? We've heard from a lot of our listeners who turn up at a dealership, and not just BYD, or all brands, and the reception they get there, the availability of test drives has often swayed their decision on what car they buy. So how much emphasis are you placing on that first point of contact at the dealerships, that being at a premium level?
It is hugely important. We understand that. My background for many years in OEMs, understands that it's not just that first point of contact. I would say it's every point of contact. So whether it be walking into a dealership, whether it be wanting a test drive, the delivery of the vehicle, the handover of the vehicle, whether it be that first service, the second service, whatever it may be. So look, we've been working really, really hard to really, for every touch point to be a good experience and a seamless experience. And we're more advanced in some areas than others, and we know that but in the back end, for example, service, we really need to improve. So we're investing. As an example, we've just recently invested in a 20,000 square metre parts warehouse here in Melbourne. We have a parts warehouse in Brisbane. We'll have other parts warehouses around the country to make sure that every one of those touch points, whether it be service or test drive, is a great experience. So it's hugely important. It's still a little bit of work in progress for us with the growth that we're experiencing, but we're putting on more and more dealers every day, and I'm sure we'll get there.
But also too, I'm no doubt you'd agree that a lot of your customers, it's their first EV they've purchased as well. So that again is another sort of level of responsibility that you have as a brand.
100%. And again, it goes through the whole experience, the first touch point, the last touch point. And ultimately, we want to get that first EV buyer that's had a great experience over 2 or 3 or 4 years to come back and buy another one and buy the next generation of car, or based on their lifestyle changing, buy a Shark or buy a C-Line 7. So look, it's a massively important part of the business, and we're working really, really hard to get every part of that right.
I think people of our age and have seen the car market in Australia would remember Hyundai coming into the market, and I feel like that early days of the Hyundai Elantra, and they were selling in big numbers, they were doing good things. I feel like their escalation to being a top brand in Australia and a well-respected brand, I feel like that's an aspirational pathway for someone like BYD. Do you see yourself in 20 years from now being a top 3? Do you have aspirations to be the number 1 car seller in Australia?
Well, look, I'm old enough to have experienced the Hyundai growth and the growth of the Korean brands, so very much aware of that. For us, it's it's about being it's about being a brand that takes a leadership position. So, right now, I think this year, we'll finish on the sales ladder of 7 or 8, thereabouts, but certainly in the top 10. So for us, it's about continuing to improve, bringing more models to the marketplace to fulfill customer needs. And ultimately, we want to be a leader. Leader doesn't always mean being number 1, right. But whatever we do, we just want to keep improving and be a really well-trusted, well-respected brand in Australia. So, we're on that journey. We've got enormous growth happening at the moment, but that's our long-term vision.
So just on that, you're talking about what the broader plans are for BYD. Can you give us a bit of an insight into what we can expect in 2026 and beyond?
Well, for 2026, we will continue to bring new updated models to the market. We'll have more to say about it next year, but we'll be filling some other segments that we're not currently in, and expanding the lineup of certain models that are already strong, but we want to make stronger. And I think by the end of next year, if we weren't somewhere near the top 3 in terms of the sales ladder, then I think I'd be disappointed, because we just feel that what we can offer, and particularly the segments in which we can be really competitive, that's sort of where we're aiming for. So I'm not calling a number, but I feel that that's sort of where we should be around this time next year. So we'll have a lot more to say about it early in the year, but what people can expect is we'll continue bringing lots of new tech, lots of new models into the market, and keep growing and keep improving.
Now, before we let you go, it would be remiss of me not to bring up a conversation that we had on this show 6 months ago or more around the Atto 3 wiring harness compatibility with Tesla chargers. It was essentially very early buyers in the first run of production of the Atto 3. They couldn't charge at Tesla's new model superchargers. I understand from contact I've had from people that's now there's a resolution available to those customers, and honestly, it's a paid. You have to pay as a customer to do it, but I felt like it's a pretty good price, something like $350. I feel that's not a bad price to pay. Do you feel like that's a good rounding out of that situation for you guys?
Yeah, look, I think so. I think we think that, with that resolved now, I think anyone who has any questions on that is able to call our customer care centre. I think it rounds that issue out for us.
Yeah, well done. Look, I think that, I love that you acknowledged the EV Direct team for the way they brought this brand to market. It was an unbelievable thing for feels like it's just a couple of people to do, but Luke Todd and his team to be able to bring a car to market and a brand to market that ended up being so early dominant. And I guess the last thing I want to know is, how do you feel about these huge number of Chinese brands coming into the market? Is it going to be a situation in 5 or 10 years from now, or even less, where it is only the mighty who sustain their place in the Australian market, or can the Australian market handle the number of brands that we have, let alone are coming?
Well, it's a very interesting question. The Australian market, when you look at it over history and looking forward, roughly is about 1.2 million units. I think the OEM count, or the brand count now, is probably around 75. So I think there's no question we were and still continue to be the most competitive market in the world. Look, I think what's good about it is it's great for consumers. It really keeps every OEM on their toes. If you don't bring the best product with great value and great service to the market, then you're really going to struggle. So, look, whether everyone survives or not, I don't know. What I'm focusing on is making sure that BYD is a big part of the Australian market going forward. I think this level of intense competition is ultimately great for consumers. So I think that's a good thing.
Well done to the team locally. Well done to the team at the design centre, because they're bloody good-looking cars too. That's one of the great things about them. They look good. They drive well. They're packed with tech, as you say. You've got a lot to offer them.
Priced.
We can't wait to go back-to-back in a bunch of your cars early next year, Stephen. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today, and hopefully we can keep in touch throughout 2026.
Yeah, look, I'd love to do that, and appreciate your time, fellas.
Thanks very much.
Thanks,
there you go, Stephen Collins, the Chief Operating Officer of BYD Australia. It's a simple life I lead. It really is. Yeah. Great to chat with Stephen Collins. We appreciate him taking the time.
And spells his Stephen correctly too. PH, baby. Stephen with a PH.
In America, you'd be Steph.
God bless. Yeah, they'd be calling me Stefan. Yeah, Stefan.
Steph Curry. I always look at that and go, your name's Stephen, mate. What are you doing? Really, look, just seems like a really nice bloke. So glad we could connect. And obviously it's a new era for BYD after the EV Direct brought it to market. And mate, let's just reflect there for a minute. He said 2026. I feel like he said he's got a top 3 goal.
Yeah.
That's huge.
You'd think he'd have a top 1 goal, wouldn't you? Obviously, he wants to be the best, but
beating Toyota
top
is a big
3.
call.
I think that's quite reasonable. What he suggested, that it's absolutely possible.
Yeah,
top 2 even.
Well, you think about how well they did with when the Shark came to market, big spike in sales. Yes. So if they can have that spike for Atto 1 and Atto 2, and then throughout the year continue supply, plus if they can continue to be aggressive on pricing, plus he said they've got more models coming that they want to plug other markets.
Right. What did he mention?
I'm trying to think. So they've got a 7-seater that's already been announced. That's been announced. Yep. I think that's a hybrid.
And he mentioned the C-Line 7's the most popular EV.
Yeah, we talked about that last week in the sales data. Yep. But where else are they going to plug a market? They've got a ute. Yeah. They've got a hatch. They've got a sedan. I mean, they can bring in a wagon out. I mean,
coupe or something, or a sports car.
I mean,
bring it on.
Yeah. And then there's a secondary brand, which maybe I don't know how the structure works here, but there's Denza or something like that, which is their kind of their Lexus to Toyota. There's a BYD.
Wow. Is that right?
Yes, and they've got like some big a Land Cruiser Discovery style
real
vehicles,
right?
Which I think they'll bring to Australia. But I think again they're hybrid,
right?
But I think that's the smart thing from BYD is you've got to plug the market. You're not going to win this game with just electrics,
just pure EVs. Yeah.
So having
what have they got 2 now? Is it the C-Line 6 is still the hybrid?
And Shark 6
and the Shark,
and I believe the C-Line 8 is the 7-seater. And I think it's a hybrid.
Really? Okay. And that's been announced already, you reckon?
Yes. I'm sure it has.
Okay. We'll assume you're right, Trev.
The C-Line 8, just according to Google AI, is a 7-seat plug-in hybrid PHEV, so early 2026. So, that's...
Wow.
But again...
Something for everyone. Again, as we said at the top of the show, there is something for, younger person, older person, compact, and all along the line. there is and competing. Like early on, remember they put up models up against Tesla, so they had their Seal and they had the others, and that was okay. Meeting both of them in the middle. The Atto was sort of against the Model Y, the Seal was against the 3, but now they're competing against every other brand,
mate, they're
still holding their own.
I would say if Tesla was here in front of them as a subject now, even though it might have better sales than them in some months, it's like way behind them. They're now looking at Kia, Hyundai, Ford, Mazda.
They're looking at the non-EV brands now. Yeah.
Top 3, baby.
Yeah, they're looking at everybody.
Well done to them.
Yeah, good.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on BYD owners.
Your experience with BYD, which we brought up in the interview.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people who had not the best experience with BYD.
A lot of people had a great experience too.
And most had an excellent experience.
But also, we've had so many calls and emails in the last couple of months about the Zeekr 7X, for example. I'm wondering if there's that same excitement around the Atto 1, for example.
Yeah.
So if you're someone that is all in on the Atto 1 and 2 announcements, let us know.
Yeah.
Send us a text or a WhatsApp, 0477 657 657. Send us a text or a WhatsApp. We'll get you on the show. We'd love to just get that understanding of what it is that draws you to these cars. How do you find out about them?
Yes.
What makes you make that decision? And we'll talk to you right here on Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. We'll do it again next week. Stephen, what do you reckon?
I'll be right here waiting.
Why not? What are you, Richard Marx?